quick little ditty. Been reading verse of the day on YouVersion. Great app. If you don't have a Bible app, it's a great one to start with. YouVersion. So they have a verse of the day, and so I always read that. I usually read the chapter that goes with that. So a couple months ago, the verse was Romans 12, 2, I believe, 12:2. It says, "But be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may prove what is good and perfect will of God." Something to that effect. I'll put the actual verse. I'm paraphrasing because my YouVersion's on my iPhone and I'm using that to record this. So anyway, so now that's interesting. By testing. Now, as a science teacher, I would talk to my students a lot about truth can be tested. Yeah, and the Bible talks about this, that testing, by testing. So we walk by faith, but there's also a testing that is acceptable. Not a testing of the Lord, but testing, proving out, walking it out. So today's verse was Isaiah 53:4, I believe. But it says, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up against you in judgment you shall refute." And then it goes on. This is the part that kind of caught me this morning. I was like, oh, interesting. It says, "For this is the vindication of the servants of the Lord," or this is the vindication of the servants of the Lord, let's say God, or something like that. I'll put it on the screen. But to refute, every tongue that rises in judgment you shall refute. So I looked that up. And refute literally means to prove incorrect, to prove false. Okay, so by testing, going back to that you may know the perfect will of God. And I won't get into the will of God, perfect will of God on this video, but there is a perfect will of God. And God wants us to find it. And it says that you be transformed by your mind, that you may prove. That by testing you may prove. So there's a process. It's not just, doesn't just happen. It's a process. Okay. So but he wants us to do it. That's the thing. He wants us to find it. He wants to reveal it to us, and he wants us to walk it out. So he does have a will. He does have a perfect will, and he wants to show this to us. And then when people rise against you in judgment, when a weapon formed against you shall not prosper. Somebody was telling me this recently. That kind of means that the devil has a specific, or the minions, if you will, they have a specific weapon for each person. They design it based on that person's weaknesses. For me, if you were to try to, I just noticed there's a climber like 20 yards away, but he can't hear me. If you were to try to tempt me with alcohol, it wouldn't work. Never gotten drunk, never plan on getting drunk, Alcohol just holds no temptation for me. So that weapon formed against me, it wouldn't be a very good weapon. Now, there are other areas, I'm not going to tell you my other areas, but there are other areas where in the past 2 years, I've already talked about this, rejection. And I'm getting stronger in that. I'm toughening up. I'm getting a thick skin. But that weapon that was formed against me hasn't prospered. It hasn't worked the way it's supposed to, or they meant it to. And then every tongue that rises in judgment, and again, the Satan means the accuser. So every tongue, people that agree with the accuser and rise in judgment on you, you shall refute. Now, I would take that and mean you argue with them, you kind of, no. See, this is the vindication. The vindication of the Lord is you prove them wrong by testing them, by walking it out. So if they say, if the accuser, people say that you're not hearing God, well, walk it out. And then by your life and by the actions, by the fruit, you will prove, you will refute it, and you'll prove the perfect will of God, and you'll refute the accuser. So you do both. So I see the connection in those two verses. I just saw that this morning, and since I'm at El Dorado Canyon State Park and the beautiful water behind me there, I thought, this would be a cool little video.